Same thing on monitors is what you.
Yeah.
So you have the
We
case
have
on your
that.
screen? Oh, you have that?
No,
up
we
there?
have that. Whatever you show on the screen is what we get. So,
I don't know. It's showing the PowerPoint down there on the bar.
Yeah, it's on the bar.
Put it up on the screen.
good afternoon.
You have
Is it on your,
you have it on your screen. Yeah.
well, that's a share screen problem of some kind.
There you, I saw your mouse go
Yeah,
across.
my mouse is working, so I don't know why it's not showing up on the screen.
Check your laptop and see if you've got, a share.
What is it?
Is that Windows 10?
It's 10. Let me see if I can. Okay, now I'm lost. My mouse here.
Oh, you may be, Dean, if your mouse is going off to the side, you may just.
You may be on two screens, you may be
Well,
on
that's what
parallel
I'm
screens.
trying to do, but whenever I do that, it doesn't let me, the mouse disappears on my screen, so I can't do it.
You can't get to the screen command down?
I mean, I can guess. It's 10. This is it.
There
There
you go.
you got it.
Duplicate
They
what
had
you're
it
after.
on extend instead, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. All right, so let's call this meeting to order. Would you call the roll, please, ma'am?
Okay. Chairman Tamayo.
I'm here.
Board Member Beaver absent. Board Member Hilliard.
Here.
Board Member Rowe.
Here.
Board Member Sorrell.
Here.
And alternate Board Member Jones.
Present.
Thank you.
All right. Let's talk about the minutes real quick from the February 3 meeting. Any comments, motions, et cetera?
Make a
regarding
motion to
those?
approve.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? None. All right. So where we are at this point is swearing in of witnesses. What we want to do is swear in. Everybody's going to speak for or against, make any comment whatsoever, talk to us at all. If you would stand, raise your right hand, and let our clerk here swear you in, please.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
All right, so the way we're constituted at this point, we got 4 members and an alternate. We're running on the agenda that's before us. Anybody that's a movement requesting a variance or some change, relief, needs 4 out of 5 votes. If another member comes in, as we expect him to, then Mr. Jones will sit here, watch, not vote, participate in deliberations, et cetera, but you'll be looking at the 5 members. In fact, there's our 5th member right there, up to the point of going through these first 2 items on the agenda, at which time Mr. Rowe is going to step aside, and Mr. Jones will be the 5th member. It'll be Mr. Beaver, and Mr. Hilliard, me, and across to Mr. Jones as the 5 for the 3rd item on the agenda. Okay? Everybody got that? Need 4 out of 5 to win. Okay, so what we're gonna do is call the first item on the agenda, which is PZ 2022-18. It's a request for a variance to perimeter landscaping buffer and elimination of required trees at 4797 Magnolia Avenue. Could we have the staff report, please, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And this is, if I get this right, this is pretty much the same thing that was on the agenda for February 3, but with some additional information.
I believe that's correct,
Because we've got some people here who were not here then. Please go all over.
including me. So,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
So I'm just going to read the staff report to you because I'm not sure what all was presented back last
Yeah,
month.
We've read the staff report, I think. Is there anything, unless you guys want to hear or read it, is anybody here that needs that? Okay. Then we've heard the staff report. The question then comes, what are the responses from surrounding landowners?
We didn't receive any in favor or in opposition.
Okay. And so, can we take it as staff report, received in evidence, or do we need to have that spoken?
Do I need to read some of this, or at least state some of the facts?
You need to do the presentation for the record. So you don't have to read the full staff report, but you do have to put on the basic.
Okay, that's fine, as long as y'all don't want me to read it all. Mr. Charles Sajari is in the design phase for a new convenience store to be located at 4797 Magnolia Avenue. Mr. Sajari requests a variance to the residential perimeter landscape buffer for the portion of the west property line adjacent to RMH zoning to be reduced from 10 feet to 5 feet and to eliminate the required trees within it. Back in 1982, a variance was approved for the rear yard setback, which reduced it from 10 feet to 0 feet. So the landscape buffer is really what's keeping the building from being right up against the property line at this point. So he's asking to have that reduced to 5 feet, and since 5 feet isn't really going to allow enough room for trees, he's asking that the trees in that portion of that buffer be eliminated.
Well,
Is that enough?
Would there be a perimeter landscaping buffer on any other side?
The only area that the perimeter landscaping buffer is required for is between the commercial property and the residential property, which is along that same side. So he's just asking for the reduction where the building is going to be, if I understand correctly. He is here, so he can answer questions for you just in case, but if I understand correctly, it's just a reduction where the building is going to sit. And I do have slides that I can show you, so maybe that will help.
Yeah, if you would.
So you can see there's just a little bit of residential RMH property down there in that bottom, I guess, southwest corner of the property. And that is where the proposed building is going to sit. So there is a required landscape buffer along that portion of that property line. And that is the entire portion that requires it because of that residential zoning. So he's asking to reduce it to 5 feet and eliminate the trees. And we have a picture of the property, current picture of it. And that's where the new building's going to sit, back there against that tree line. I'm assuming those trees will be, I guess, some or all of them removed.
So, Dina, in 1982, y'all pulled that old file back out, and they did reduce it to 0. They voted to approve it.
Yes, sir.
So, what happens legally from 82 to when the ordinance changed with the variance?
Anything that was existing in 1980, well, my understanding is once it receives the variance, it sticks with the property from then on. I don't think it goes away.
That is correct. So the variance runs with the life of the property. It's not connected to the business. The variance runs with the land. So when we do zoning for like a particular business that, permit is what goes with a business, but the variance goes with the land. So it'd be grandfathered.
This is not the case where part was approved and part was denied.
No.
That's that last one.
That's the last one. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask another question
Go ahead.
from the attorney then. So this is kind of a mute thing then.
Well, no. He's asking, it was reduced back to 0. And so now he's here because he has to file the variance if he's going to, I guess, remove the buffer. Is that what
The
we're doing?
landscaping buffer is
It's
what?
a landscaping
Landscaping
buffer. So you're going to decide on the landscaping issue. Now, when they reduced it back, that was obviously a condition at the time. So now he's asking to amend that portion of the requirement. So that's kind of why you're here. You can't, I guess, require the setback to be moved up because it's already been reduced down to 0, but you can still require the buffer that he's requesting be removed.
And I don't see anything that, I'm looking for something specific as the request. I'm looking for specific language.
He's wanting to reduce the land, that there's a 10-foot wide landscaped buffer that is required along that property line.
Right.
He's wanting to reduce the width of that landscape buffer to 5 feet. And that buffer requires that you have one Class A or 2 Class B trees every 25 linear feet located in that buffer. He's asking to eliminate those trees.
And you've heard nothing from the homeowners that will be behind you?
And we've received no responses in favor or in opposition.
There would still be a landscape buffer, it just wouldn't include trees.
Right.
But the way that I read this, it's not just behind the planned new building. I'm looking for the actual language of the actual request, and all I see is the subject line here, and
It's in that first paragraph, right?
well, I'm seeing stuff I can extract out, but that's the staff report, that's not his request. So, I'm trying to figure out,
The subject line is the request.
well,
Consider a request for a variance to reduce the perimeter landscape buffer
Yeah, but usually
from
they have a
10
big
feet to
well.
5 feet and eliminate the required trees.
but again, it doesn't say from 10 feet to 5 feet, it just says reduce. You get 10 feet to 5 feet comes out of the text of the staff report, and what I was looking for was in what he signed, or the planning and community development form that was filled out. Is there anything that?
I think that came more from discussion with him because it was unclear to us what it said. So we had to discuss it with him on multiple occasions, and this was what our understanding was that he was requesting.
Okay. His request, and he writes on January 12, 2022, is to totally waive the perimeter landscape buffer on the rear of the property. That's what he signed. So, is there anything more from the staff that we need before we hear from the applicant? Okay, then if you would step back or you don't have to move at all, is there anyone else here who wants to testify for, against, or make any other comment? Let's take the applicant, if the applicant's here, on the current item that's before us, which is PZ 2022-18. Is there another witness? Going twice, another witness?
You have the applicants.
I've asked for him. I've asked for him twice. The applicant want to testify. Okay. Turn your mic on. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. So let's take you one at a time.
Yes.
And speaking from there, first identify yourself. Tell us what your relationship is to the property.
Charles Shajeri with Benchmark. I represent Mr. Naeem Akhtar for his property. Okay, the building.
Okay, and Benchmark is what?
Benchmark.
What is, you said I'm with Benchmark. What is Benchmark?
Benchmark Plans and Associate LLC.
And what is your relationship then to the property? You are his planner?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And tell us what you want to about this.
Well, the building is designed for 40 feet. So when we have a 40-feet building, and when you design a parking lot with a 5 feet sidewalk in front of it, which is required for handicap accessibility, and then you have a 18-feet parking lot, then you need to back up 24 feet, have enough room. That's the standard parking lot design. In order to, have a good egress and ingress to come in and out, and fire trucks easy come and out. And in order to do that, he doesn't want to reduce that 40 feet to 35 feet building, because it's going to make it very shallow for the building. So since we have some room in the back, requesting that 10 feet to make it to 5 feet, and keep the 40 feet, 5 feet sidewalk, 18 feet parking, 24 feet easy backup, so I have enough with the canopy and fire truck in and out easy, then the canopy and then the front.
Okay. Looking at the staff report that was written, apparently, and apparently they picked this up from something that you said or from something that Mr. Akhtar said, that the building is to have an exterior depth of 40 feet, leaving 25 feet of retail space. What does that mean? That is in the fourth paragraph of the staff report. That's not what you really meant, is it?
Let me read that.
You
I'm
don't have
sorry.
15 feet of wall thickness, front and back.
Yes.
Well, man.
The second, okay, the third.
Okay.
Exterior.
Fourth full paragraph. The applicant claims the proposed building will have an exterior depth of 40 feet, leaving 25 feet of retail space inside the
Oh,
building.
it should be 35 feet.
35, okay. All right. So,
You're right.
okay. I couldn't make sense of that. And I'm having a hard time finding anything written other than Mr. Akhtar's January 12, 2022 Magnolia Mini Mart letter, in which there is an actual statement of the actual request that Mr. Akhtar is making. Is Mr. Akhtar really asking us to waive the perimeter landscape buffer on the rear of the property?
He is here.
Yes.
All right. And so let's take one at a time. I'm asking him first.
Yes,
Okay, that's the
Yes.
real request is waive
Yes.
the landscape buffer.
yes, sir.
Okay. And Mr. Akhtar owns the entire property, I presume, including
Yes,
the
sir.
nail salon or whatever it is
Yes,
that's
sir.
already pre-existing. Okay. Any other questions of the witness? Anything else you want to say, Mr. Shajari?
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Akhtar, do you want to talk to us? Okay, okay. Any questions of Mr. Akhtar? Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
We'll talk about it. All right. Let's have some discussion about this. Let's go back and hear a motion if we have one. Who's got a motion with respect to file PZ 2022-18?
I make a motion, we approve PZ 2022-18.
Okay. And I'm presuming that the content of that motion is
for the 5 foot.
Okay. The request was, is it to 5 foot or is it to elimination? Is your motion, which is your motion?
I would say 5 foot.
Okay.
And that's what he's asking for, correct?
Well,
We surmise. I'm like that. We can only
Okay.
surmise that.
Right.
the surmise was, and I asked him the question, his request is waive it.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so is your motion to allow him 5 foot landscape buffer, 5 foot buffer from the,
I would say the 5 foot, which is what he originally asked for.
okay, all right, then that's, the motion before us is to, allow variance to reduce the landscape buffer from 10 feet to 5 feet. Okay, that's the motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, and that would eliminate the required trees as a matter of as a practical matter, and we're gonna include that in. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, there's a second. Would you call the roll as a vote, please, ma'am?
Chairman Tamaez,
I'm for the motion as stated.
Board Member Beaver,
For the motion.
Board Member Hilliard,
For the motion.
Board Member Rowe,
Or
and Board Member Sorrell.
For.
Okay, so that one passes. As 5 feet, landscape buffer 5 feet, no trees. Okay? All right, let's go to, and we have to rewrite probably your deal. We'll get that taken care of. PZ 2022-19, the request is to a variance to the required front yard setback reduction from 20 feet to 10 feet at 2405 Tulane Street. Could we have the staff report for that, please?
Yes, sir. My understanding is this item was tabled from the February 3rd, 2022 agenda. Ms. Ashley Clark is requesting a variance for the for the property located at 2405 Tulane Street. The property is zoned GCMD and therefore requires a 20-foot building setback from the front property line. They're requesting a variance to the front yard setback to be reduced from 20 feet to 10 feet. The applicant claims this lot is exceptionally smaller than the average GCMD lot and also oddly shaped. Stonewater Inc. is, of course, with the GLO, so they're part of this disaster recovery program to facilitate building structurally sound homes and mitigate future flooding hazards for citizens' homes that have been affected by natural disasters. And as you can see in the picture, it is a very oddly shaped little lot. And this is the proposed site plan showing what the setbacks should be for the property. But, hold on, let me go back. Yeah, they're not all correct. So the side setbacks would just be 5 feet on each side, as opposed to this.
The 15 or?
the 15 to 20, you
Yeah.
call them the side.
No, it's correct. So
20,
Mhm.
20, 15.
anyway, so yeah, they're asking for a 20-foot variance for the front setback. It says.
20 foot from the front? I thought it was just one request and it was from 20 to 10.
Yes, from
Okay.
20 to 10
Okay.
for the front yard setback.
Okay.
But not all those setbacks are correct.
Comments from any of the surrounding landowners?
I didn't receive any responses in favor or opposition.
Okay, you weren't here last time, but what we heard last time was similar, but they had requested to 10 foot 8 inches or something like that.
Okay.
And the problem was that when we looked at the drawing, we saw that there was probably something a little closer.
Yeah.
And so that's been amended now. And so we have before us something that will allow the house to fit in the odd-shaped lot.
Okay.
Okay? Is there anyone else who wants to speak for, against, or otherwise comment on PZ 2022-19, taking applicant first and then anybody else that wants to talk? Come up, tell us who you are and what your relationship is to the property, and we'll hear whatever you want to say.
My name's Hayden Hernandez. It's actually an SLS house, just to clear that up. It's not Stonewater, the company.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, pretty straightforward, what she said, just reduce the setback from 20 foot to 10 foot. We do already have the smallest planned option for her house, so we got the smallest one we can fit in there.
Okay. Any questions of this witness? All right. Thank you very much. Having heard almost all of this except one change in a measurement, is there a motion to be had for this? Gentlemen?
I'll make a motion to grant a variance to the required front yard setback to be reduced from 20 feet to 10 feet.
Second that.
Second from Mr. Hilliard. Would you call the roll as a vote, ma'am?
Chairman Tamayo?
I'm for it.
Board Member Beaver?
For it.
Board Member Hilliard?
4.
Board Member Rowe?
4.
And Board Member Sorrell.
4.
And from the standpoint of the audience, we're shifting one notch to the right.
Yeah.
Mr. Rowe is stepping back as we call for hearing PZ 2022-29, request for variance to the required rear yard setback from 25 feet to 3.64 feet at 5495 Green Briar Lane. Could we have the staff report on that, please, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Israel Mendiola Jr. is requesting a variance for the property located at 2495 Greenbrier Lane. The property is owned residential single family and therefore requires a rear yard setback of 25 feet for a main structure per ordinance. The applicant is requesting the rear yard setback be reduced from 25 feet to 3.64 feet. Apparently this was discovered when there was an appraisal done of the property, and we do show that there was a variance that was filed by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development in October of 2003. They requested permission to keep the encroachment of 6 inches into the 5-foot side setback and the encroachment of 22.2 feet into that rear 25-foot setback. And the board approved the side setback request. However, they denied the rear setback request. And I believe she included the staff report from that 2003 certification from the Board of Adjustment decision for you to see. But they are currently the house is being sold, and the buyer's lender will not grant the home loan to the house due to the nonconformity of the existing rear yard encroachment. So on this, you can see the site plan has a rear encroachment way into that rear setback, and that is the current issue. And I have a picture of the house, and I believe that's it.
Do you know the status of construction when the variance was considered in October of 2003?
I do not.
From the staff report.
It looks like there was some, it was already built.
Already built in 2003.
Since they're saying keep the encroachment, I'm assuming the house was already there when they were asking for that variance in 2003.
And what was, do you know what the, you can't tell from this whether that was originally some type of a patio that was taken in or whether it was some type of other addition. Do you know?
Where did I read something that said it was an addition?
So what they get a variance for?
Did you have any response to your,
I didn't
No,
receive any responses in favor or in opposition.
They got that variance for that first one.
Yeah.
Because they're here and here.
Yes, see, they gave them this variance,
They gave them they gave them the side variance.
Well, you've got here and then,
and that's right on the line.
okay.
That one's open, is this side.
Oh, wow.
Now,
Sure
if
is.
you kind of take a piece of paper and just kind of like draw across that back wall, you
Right.
can see that it possibly
Could have fit in
was
the
an
original.
addition because it would have been out of the original house would have probably been out of the, rear setback line.
Not if you go from the.
Not the not the little line, but the
Yeah.
other wall, the main wall,
Here,
Of the house.
if you go across right here,
the main wall.
Cause this would have looked like a little patio out of the back door.
right,
Yeah,
And
Okay.
I'm just using the main wall projection.
yeah, and they would have
the
been.
33.5 feet. Okay. Any other questions of the staff? All right. Let's hear from the applicant first on this, or applicant's representative, one of the two. If you would step up, tell us your name, please, and your relationship to the property, and then tell us whatever you want us to hear.
Yes, sir. My name is Israel Mendiola Jr. I am the owner of that property at 5409 Greenbrier Lane.
Okay.
Due to a hardship in the family, we've had to actually move. So now we're in the process of selling the house. Due to knowing that the people who are trying to buy it right now, their lender won't approve it, as I stated before. So now we're having trouble trying to get the variant for it, and then puts a hardship on us and the family that's actually occupying the house, because I've let them lease the property for now, because they have no other home to go to. So I've actually let them lease it, and then for me to, until this gets settled out, and then we can actually have them sell then. That property, I've owned that property since 2016. It was there. It's an add-on that I can see from the inside. I know because there's an actual window inside by the kitchen. So I know it is an add-on. I've had no issues from any of the neighbors from left to right behind me, and no problems at all since I've been there.
And who did you buy from? Who was the owner? Do you know who the owner was in 2003? Was that the same person you bought from?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't know. You remember his name? No, I don't remember his name, to be honest with you. I don't. Honestly.
Okay. Okay.
It's changed hands for quite a while, so.
All right. And you apparently you got financing
Yes,
when
sir.
you bought it? And when you bought it, this was already in the record? It showed up on your title?
It showed up on my title, and everything was already in there. Yes, sir.
All right. Any other questions of the witness? All right. Anybody else want to speak for, against, or otherwise comment on this? Tell us who you are, sir, and what your relationship is to the property.
Hello, my name's Tim Williams. I'm their realtor. We work with Keller Williams Realty. And when my clients purchased the property in 2016, they had an appraisal done, but the appraiser did not catch that this was over a setback line. And it had been, from my understanding, changed hands 2 different times between 2003 and 2016 when they purchased the property. And because their appraiser didn't catch it, and whoever had purchased it previous didn't catch it, now it's become an issue for them. It's a hardship. And I don't know that any of this is a hardship to the community by reducing the setback line. If I can I ask a question? Why is there a 25-foot setback line behind the house to begin with?
That's something you'd have to ask the planning and zoning crew, not
Okay.
us.
It's in the restrictions.
But it's in the restrictions.
Okay.
It's in the ordinances.
In the ordinance, yeah.
Okay.
And I
So-
guess, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it. I was
Okay.
just curious.
Well, that's, you'll have to ask somebody else about policy reasons. We're not here to state policy.
Okay. That was it.
All right.
All right.
Any other questions of this witness? Okay. Anybody else want to speak, say something else? We're here to to hear out whatever you want to say.
Okay, actually, just to let you know, actually, we don't even live here in Beaumont anymore. We're in the process of buying another house in Kingsville. So
Okay.
now our commute back and forth is, it's been tough on us getting here and trying to
Okay.
get this completed and done and sold to people who want to buy the house.
Okay. Thank you.
W, sir.
Anything else? Anybody else?
I have a question
Go ahead. If you want to. Question
If-
for,
for legal.
feel like y'all work me harder now.
It's an easy question, I think.
Just kidding. I don't mind.
If the board were to grant the variance, can they grant the variance subject to only the existing improvements and not allow for future improvements to go into that setback?
So the requirement was for the reduction to 364, right? So basically, if you do that, if you approve the variance as requested, anything within that area where the property line, they could essentially extend. I don't know what the backyard looks like, but you know, they could put a pool, a patio, they could pour concrete up into that line. I mean, if you wanted to say just to limit it to approve the existing structure, that's a motion you can make. I don't know how enforceable that would be.
I don't think it would work.
It doesn't like, I just don't know how enforceable it would be, like moving forward, right? Like in terms of property rights, can you do something? Yes. Is it enforceable? Likely, no. If that helps. If you're asking for my opinion, I would. Yeah,
You're saying you can't make the motion to limit the.
No, I'm saying you like
just the limits of the structure, existing structure as of 2022.
Logistically, you can. I'm saying like enforceability wise, I just don't think like down the road that would be enforceable. Like later, if they did put something, if they did pour concrete, right, and then we came out and said you couldn't do that, and we had to have like this whole court battle behind it. I'm saying that the likelihood that we would be successful is extremely low.
The likelihood that we could frame a motion, unless we did it like that weirdness we had on 11th Street where we were talking about what lines to follow.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we could do
Well,
that.
no, I think his existing motion would be like to approve the setback to include and then state that no existing structures could be in that zone would kind of be like, but it's
Well,
already here, and what harm would it be, like what harm has it caused? You know what I'm saying? Like, so if I pour concrete or put something else down there, I think that the second argument would be that it's already there.
I'd like to ask one more question too. What is this pad or whatever this is that's in the upper left-hand corner? Is that a structure or is that a concrete?
It's just a concrete pad. We can build a shed or something on top. It's just concrete.
Okay,
That's all.
I see. Okay, good enough. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Not that y'all ask, but when stuff like this happens, if they built up over, even if you allow like this existing structure to be there, right, and it's encroaching on any utility line or any easement, like whatever decision you make today doesn't impact the city from being able to say, hey, we need to get there, we got to move it. So
and I guess that was one of my questions.
Yeah. So
is if there are any utility lines or sewer lines, underground water lines. I know most of the times there are service lines.
I mean, it could be. And so that's kind of the purpose for the setback, right? Is that we put our utility lines and we put things in that area.
Correct.
I mean, there's really no way to know. Our engineers on here, they didn't look at it. But like logistically, logically, there could be lines under it. When there's a structure, like a house, part of their house, they would obviously try to dig under it without infracting the function, with the understanding that, hey, they had a variance to do this, so they try to go under. I'll tell you that the pad and anything that they poured subsequent to that's not needed for like living. We either move it, tear it down, or bust it up. Okay. That's just kind of the risk you take.
Okay.
Well,
Was a permit pulled on the addition?
Probably not. And the reason that you can kind of ascertain that there was no permit pulled is that our engineers and our planners would have caught that it would have been over, or they should have caught that it would have been over. At the time, they also would have told them like, hey, there's utility easements, and they would have had to come here before you guys, and there would have been a previous ruling saying that, hey, they're going to get this variance, right? So it's probably that they didn't pull the permit. It's probably it's not structure, but
and that was my next question was, were there any permits pulled for the extension? Because structurally,
I think it's important to note though that they didn't build a house,
right?
So
Correct.
So those faults, not pulling the permit. I know we always talk about chairman always likes to say, we can't correct someone's problem that they created themselves.
Absolutely.
Like they didn't build a house that they weren't responsible for pulling the permits. They did their due diligence. Their surveyor didn't catch it.
Absolutely.
So those faults aren't on them. But yeah, if they would have pulled a permit and provided accurate site plans, it probably wouldn't have been approved.
Absolutely. Thank you,
So
ma'am.
in this case, the question about utilities, in this one, I would tell you that more than likely, there's no utilities in the rear. Because if you notice that there is a utility easement in the front.
Correct.
This is at the end of a cul-de-sac. The electrical is in the front, everything's up kind of in the front.
Yes,
This
sir.
is a relatively newer subdivision.
Yes, sir.
When I say newer, it's for Beaumont, and so those utilities, those old subdivisions that had all those utilities in the rear, they're
Right,
trying to,
right.
not do that.
Right.
And so this one. Exactly.
Like it's fine for us to like bust up like a driveway. It sucks to like bust up someone's pool.
And then I have to go through their yard and everything else, track up their yard and everything.
So
yeah.
in this case, the utilities more than likely are all in the front.
Right.
All right. Any other question, discussion? Motion to be had?
I'll make a motion that we approve file BZ 2022-29.
I
Is there a
second.
Okay, second over here, Mr. Jones. All right, would you call the roll, please, for a vote?
Chairman Tamayo,
I'm against it.
Board Member Beaver,
I'm against it.
Board Member Hilliard,
4.
Board Member Sorrell,
Against it.
and alternate Board Member Jones.
For it.
So we're split 3-2? Okay, 3-2 against. All right. Any other business to come before us? And hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.